Well, there aren't too many coastal slashers, and I found one on Tubi, and I was quite mesmerized by it. So let's review The Slayer. The Slayer stars Sarah Kindle, Carol Cottonbrook, and is directed by J.S. Cardone. What's up, guys? It's a good day. It's time for another deep cut slasher review, and this is one that I literally just found out about, just kind of perusing Tubi. And by the way, Tubi, man, sometimes I take that freaking streaming service for granted. One, it's free. Two, the selection is just insane as far as like catalog titles and even like some of the newer stuff that's on there. Yeah, I find a lot of movies that otherwise I might have to rent, because I was looking for another movie that I'm gonna review after this called Hollow Man from 2000. And sure enough, I typed on Just Watch and there it was. It's on Tubi. It's on Tubi. So, but while I was on Tubi browsing around, I saw so many freaking like deep cut, not just slashers, but just horror movies in general from like the 70s and 80s, much like we find on Shudder. And that's kind of my sweet spot. When I find stuff from the 70s and early 80s, then I really get interested. And this, I guess the poster just kind of jumped out at me, The Slayer. And you never know what you're gonna get with these movies, but I figured I'll throw this on and I'll watch it and see how it is. And automatically there were some things about this movie that just really jumped out at me. So I figured, okay, I need to review this, so I'm gonna go ahead and watch it again so I can really fully invest myself in it, which is what I did. And I'm glad I did, because we're gonna discuss it.
We all have when we're alone in the dark. And if it's only a nightmare, why is everybody dead? Prepare yourself, because you will never want to be alone again. Prepare yourself for The Slayer.
So first off, let me give you a quick plot synopsis. Basically, it's these four young people. They are going to this island, this like coastal region, and they're just going to get a break, I guess, from work, right? And our main character is Kay, and Kay is interesting because she has all these like premonitions, and even worse, these dreams that seem to manifest themselves, right? She can see all these things that are either happening or they are going to happen, and it really stresses her out. It just kind of takes over her mental capacity. And she just happens to be on vacation, so she can't really enjoy herself on vacation. So then you got her friends that are there, Brooke, Eric, and David, and they're just trying to, I guess, console her and help her to get through this. David happens to be her boyfriend, and then the other couple is Brooke and Eric. So as we go along in this movie, there happen to be these killings that are happening along the way. To be honest, especially when I first watched this movie, I'm like, is this supposed to be a whodunit? I mean, we don't know who the killer is. We might think it's going to tie into her dreams and her premonitions, but we're not sure on that either. Maybe somebody's taking advantage of her. And I will say this movie does have red herrings in there. There's one spot in the movie where I believe the character Eric, he talks about the pilot that was there earlier and questioning, wait, did he leave? We don't know, right? And then also, you yourself, as the movie's going along, you start thinking, is Kay maybe a little bit off her rocker? Could she possibly even maybe be the killer of this movie? Who knows? And the reason you can jump to those conclusions is because this movie deals with dreams. And this is a couple years before the first Nightmare on Elm Street. Dreams play a heavy part in this movie, and there are moments where you don't know if this is reality or if this is actually in Kay's dreams.
Just stay awake. That's all you have to do.
And, I've complained quite a few times in the past about dream sequences in movies, and if the actual, I guess, dream world has nothing to do with the plot, it's just kind of a space filler, or maybe a way to cheaply kill off a main character that we really don't want to kill off. I don't like that. That shit drives me nuts. But when it fits firmly into the actual plot of the movie, then it can be fun and it can play with our expectations. Now, obviously there are going to be some spoilers. You can already tell from the setup of this movie. I'll save that portion for like the last act of the review, okay? And I'll give you a warning, because I do want to talk about some of the things that happen in the final act of this movie, all right? And I'll even say this right now, the actual cover for the Arrow video release of this movie does raise some questions as far as the plot goes, right? There's this creature on the cover of the movie, and so you're asking yourself, is this the creature that might be in her dreams, or is this an actual creature that's committing these murders? We don't know. So jumping into, I guess, the backstory of this movie a little bit, and there's very little that I could dig up about this movie. I did just order the Arrow Blu-ray because I want to know more. There is like a commentary on there, but I know that this is one of those movies that didn't do that well, and it was lost in time. And luckily, because of physical media, check out my DDLive clip on physical media on Drumdums Xtra, my other channel, and how we might be in deep shit when it comes to physical media. But thank God for physical media, because this movie was rediscovered. Not only that, but a full 4K scan was done of the movie, and for the first time in like 30 years, we actually had a proper widescreen version of the movie. You know, before that, it was only available in like a 4:3. And the print does look quite gorgeous, actually. Now, when you're watching one of those early slasher movies, you're gonna ask yourself, is this gonna be sanitized, or is there plenty of blood? And luckily, there's only a few kill scenes in this movie, but boy, did they make it count with just about every single kill scene. You got this one scene where a pitchfork goes through a victim's back. That was all one take. You got a kill with like some fishing gear, like fishing wire, and it utilizes the hooks and all that, so it gets nice and gnarly. But also the kills in this movie, like I was alluding to earlier with Kay's dreams, I guess I could call this the Godfather scene of the movie, because there's a scene where she's like kissing her boyfriend in the bed in the morning, and then you realize it's just her boyfriend's head. But that's not the end of it, with her boyfriend, David. A good portion of this movie is after David's death, the other two and Kay are looking for his body, because Kay thinks that it was a dream of her finding David's head in the bed. And when they do find his body, it's pretty damn gruesome. So there's plenty of blood in this movie. And if you're really just in it for the carnage candy, that's definitely there. If you're in it for the creativity and the plot, that's definitely there. Are you going to have some question marks after you're done with this movie? Absolutely. This movie has one of those endings that is probably going to piss a lot of people off. I didn't really care for the ending of the movie. I'll talk about that once I get into, I guess, the spoilery stuff, because I got to talk about that. Now, our main character, Kay, played by Sarah Kindle, she was definitely one of the more interesting characters that I've seen in like those early slasher movies. Very vulnerable. I don't think she's, you're like, let's say like Shawnee Vincent in Your Next. No, this isn't that type of final girl at all. But there's definitely like a psychological study that could be done on a character like this. Just because of her dreams and her premonitions, and she's the main reason all this stuff is happening in the first place. She happens to be an artist, a very talented artist. And these paintings that she draws before she goes to the island, when she gets there, sure enough, she sees what she drew, this theater. She drew this theater on the coast, and when she gets there, boom, she sees the theater on the coast. So at first you're thinking, is she a little off her rocker? But then all these things start coming true. But of course, her friends, they think, she's just overreacting, right? And why wouldn't they? Because normally this stuff doesn't happen. So, they're thinking, all this is in your head, and I think you just need to take a chill pill. Also, I think this brings up a good discussion about, I guess, men and women. I think women are more intuitive creatures than men are. And I think this movie kind of focuses on that a little bit.
Looks like it came from there. Must be a leak in the roof.
I'm worried, Eric. What if something really has happened to David?
And the reason I say that is because, for my married audience out there, how many times has, say, your wife been afraid of something? Please make sure you check under the bed, make sure you check the closets. And then you got the husband who's like, honey, you're worrying for nothing, okay? I mean, I deal with it in my house, right? Women, I think maybe it's because they have a great imagination. But I think they're just much more cautious than men are, right? Maybe that's why women live longer. I don't know. So this movie does kind of hone in on that a little bit. And also, I know J.S. Cardone, he was wanting to base this a little bit off of HP Lovecraft. It definitely has those vibes. And the reason being, it more involves like the creature that is in Kay's head, whether the creature manifests itself or not. We'll get to that. Okay, this is the part where we go into the more spoilery stuff in the final act of the movie. If you don't want to know this stuff, then I would say you probably want to get out of here. But I will say I highly recommend this movie, okay? It was quite refreshing, all right? And you know what? I'll go ahead and give my rating for it now for those that decide to leave. My rating for this is definitely a purchase worthy, okay? And I guess just quickly, like I alluded to earlier, a lot of you are not going to like the ending of this movie, like the very ending of the movie. And also, there's definitely some shaky, like B-level acting in the first half of the movie. I think as the movie goes along, though, the acting gets better. So maybe they shot this chronologically. I don't know. So anyway, you're dismissed. Let's talk spoiler stuff for The Slayer. So the final act gets pretty damn intense in this movie. Obviously, everybody has died except for Kay, so it's her against whatever it is that's either in her head or it's real. And obviously, we find out that the creature is real, but we don't see the creature until pretty much the last frame of this particular sequence when she's in the house. And the creature is literally on screen for about 3 seconds. That's it. But I definitely liked the look of the creature. You know, I mean, obviously you could freeze frame it and see what it looks like, but it's also on the cover of the Blu-ray. But it's not just the look of the creature. It's also like the lighting. It's also the performance by Sarah Kindle. You know, you can tell that J.S. Cardone said, hey, I want you to just completely go for it. You are insanely afraid of this creature. You're losing your mind. So this is where the production really just like amped up, you know, in that final scene. It's just very chaotic. It's loud. It's bombastic. You know, it gets a reaction out of you. And it's pretty freaky, actually. And I did definitely dig that the creature was real. She like manifested the creature. And this is where you can definitely start poking holes in the plot. Like, how did this happen? How did this creature manifest itself? It doesn't really explain that stuff. But then, to make matters worse, at the end of all this, then a very young child version of Kay wakes up. And it's Christmas morning. She just dreamt this whole thing. And if you don't like that ending, I agree with you. I didn't really care for it either. I think they should have just ended it, you know, after the big reveal of the creature. And I believe that they filmed that section like after everything had been filmed and mastered and the music was added. Maybe this ending was just kind of an afterthought. Like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if she wakes up and she's a child, right? Because this movie deals with dreams. So I can understand how that idea got there for them, but sometimes ideas are bad, okay? And so that does take the movie down a notch. It's interesting how one bonehead move can kind of throw a movie off a little bit. But I will say, this is one of those movies that it kind of stays with you after you watch it. You can't really get it out of your head. And I also like it because it's a coastal slasher. You know, you think of like, I Know What You Did Last Summer, or really, I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. Even though both those movies take place on the coast, I still has like the thunderstorms and all that stuff. And this movie definitely deals with, you know, bad weather and all that. It's production value, right? It's always hard to shoot in thunderstorms and water, and you can tell the lightning strikes in this movie were like added in post, but that's okay. You know, they're creating a mood, and it works really well. That's what I loved about this movie. So highly recommend it. Already gave you my rating. High purchase worthy. Definitely check out The Slayer if you get a chance. Also, be sure to come over to Killer Flicks, where we talk horror all day and every day. And on Fridays, we do Free for Fridays. Follow me at Drumdums and on my socials. Support me on Patreon. Buy me a coffee. And guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Drumdum out.